With so many different challenge accounts and even instant funded accounts that some of these platforms are offering these days, it's becoming even more challenging for traders like us to decide which account is best for us, right? Which is the most cost effective, which makes most sense in terms of profit targets, right? Which makes most sense for a long term, right? That is what we're going to talk about this video, okay? I don't think there's going to be a video out there that has done more of an intensive research that we are going to be doing on this video, okay? Specifically, we're going to be talking about top one futures today, but if you guys want me to do this type of research for any other platform, please put it in the comments below and we'll make it happen. But without wasting any more time, let's get into top one futures and decide which account is best for you. Okay, so the numbers and conclusions in the following video are based on the current 55% sale using the code TLKV, okay? If you go to top one futures website right now, you will see a 50% sale on their website, but because we're one of the biggest communities that do use top one futures, they actually gave us a 5% extra sale that you guys could use, okay? So it will be 55% if you use the code TLKV. Now let's start with the first topic here. Cost per $1 of drawdown, okay? So basically, how much are you paying versus how much drawdown are you actually getting? For a $25,000 account, on an instant funded account, you're paying 18 cents per $1 of drawdown. On the Elite Challenge, you're paying about the same 18 cents per drawdown, okay, per $1 of drawdown. $50,000 account, 13 cents. Elite Challenge on a $50,000 account, it's 9 cents. $100,000 account, 8 cents and 7 cents. And then $150,000 account, you're paying 6 cents and 6 cents per dollar of drawdown on both the Elite Challenge and the instant funded account, okay? As you can see, that is the best account, right? So for this topic, the $150,000 accounts, whether you're using an instant funded account or going through a challenge, will give you the most bang for your buck, where you are paying the least amount of money per each dollar of drawdown, right? So only 6 cents on both the challenge and on the instant funded level. So if you are, focusing more on cost and focusing more on, what type of drawdown you're getting, the $150,000 accounts will be the best, okay? There's going to be a lot of topics that we discussed today. At the end of the video, I will also talk about, give you guys a conclusion, which accounts are best overall, right? Second topic that we're going to talk about today will be drawdown versus the profit target ratio on the evaluation side, right? So if you're going through challenges and evaluations, what is this ratio? Comparing the drawdown versus the profit target you have to hit to actually pass these challenges, okay? For a $25,000 account, the drawdown is going to be $1,000 and you have to reach a $1,500 profit target. That is a 1.5, okay? For a $50,000 account, the $2,000 drawdown is there and you have a $3,000 profit target. 1.5 as well. As you can see, those are the bests on this specific topic. But looking at the other accounts, we have a $100,000 account with a $3,500 drawdown and a $6,000 profit target. It goes higher, 1.7. And then the $150,000 account, $5,000 versus $9,000 on the profit target, goes even higher at 1.8. So the winners here, the conclusion, the $25,000 and the $50,000 accounts have the safest ratios, right? Because you have more buffer to what you need to make to hit the profit target, right? So if you look in terms of like dollar value, obviously you get more, drawdown on the bigger accounts, right? But if we're just comparing the drawdown versus the profit target, technically you are better off with the smaller accounts here, okay? Because the profit target obviously are closer and the drawdowns are not that close either, right? So it's 1.5 profit target compared to the drawdown that you have there. If you go to the bigger accounts, it's almost double when you go to the $150,000 account. Now, going on the funded level, we're going to talk about the drawdown versus the first payout target, okay? And the first table here is going to be talking about the evaluations, because top one futures does have a different drawdown from the evaluation side to the instant sim funded side as well. Okay, so starting off, $25,000 account, you have a drawdown of $1,000, as we mentioned earlier, and the first profit target is going to be $1,250. Okay, the ratio is 1.25 there, so it's good. For the $50,000 account, $2,000 on drawdown and $2,500 on the first payout target, only 1.25 there as well, so equal, right? Those are the best. For the $100,000 account, drawdown at $3,500, first profit target is $5,000 here, so 1.43. And then for the $150,000 account with a $5,000 drawdown, you have a first payout target of $7,500, 1.5. Again, just like we were talking about earlier, the smaller accounts do have the best ratios on this table as well. right? So $25,000 and $50,000 account have the safest ratios because you have more buffer compared to what you need to make to hit your first payout target. Now, when we talk about payout targets, right, you could also hit this payout targets if you go straight to funded. And Top One Futures does have an instant funded model where this is how it's looking. So, interesting enough, if you look here on the far right, the payout to drawdown ratios on all of these accounts are the same. Okay. And the reason for that is just because on the instant sim funded side, Top One Futures does actually give you more drawdown, more buffer, right? So the first payout targets stay the same, but you get a bigger buffer. So if we're comparing, right, in terms of like evaluations or instant funded models, instant sim are all going to be the same, right? 1.25. So all of them are the same no matter what you choose. But if you're using the evaluations, you're better off using one of the smaller accounts there so you can have that more buffer which you need, okay? Next slide we have here is going to be the easiest account to get a first payout, okay? Everyone's, just after that first payout, first payout. Here's that slide that explains that. So for a $25,000 account, the profit target is 5%, $12.50. The max payout is $1,500, right? Which that will be the max payout. But since, you can't take more than what's the actual balance of the account, $12.50 is what we will be considering here as well. So it is 1x, okay? And that is the best. For the $50,000 account, the profit target is $2,500 and the max payout is also $2,500. So here as well, it will be 1x. For the $100,000 account, the profit target is $5,000 and you can take out the max payout is $3,000. That's going to be 0.6x, okay? And then for the $150,000 account, you have to make $7,500 to withdraw a max payout of $3,500, which is 0.46x. Now, conclusion, right? The $25,000 and the $50,000 accounts have the highest payout ratio, okay? Meaning that they are the easiest accounts to get a first payout, comparing the profit target you need to hit versus the maximum payout you can take out, okay? Now, keep in mind, the Top One Futures FAQ does say any attempts to intentionally breach account to remain in the sim versus moving to live is strictly prohibited, right? And may result in having trading privileges revoked. Now, we haven't heard about this happening just yet, right? Because these new rules just got in place as well. But as far as the rules are concerned, this will be the profit target. This is the max payout. So if you're just following the rules, technically you can take out the full amount. So the FAQ does say, breaching these accounts because you don't want to be moving to live, right? So if it's your first couple of accounts there and we are talking about getting that first payout, I don't think it will be a problem, right? But if you are doing this consistently, like if you're just hitting 1250 and then taking it out and hitting 1250 and taking it out, it's probably going to result in a breach, and you're going to get called up, because that is when you are actually breaching these accounts because you don't want to move to live, okay? Now, we talked about what's the easiest way, what's the fastest way. Let's also talk about what's the most cost-effective way, okay? For instant funded accounts, and then we're going to talk about evaluations as well. But for instant funded accounts, you have the account list here, you have the cost. This will be the cost, guys, at checkout if you use the TLKV code. As I said, on the website, it says 50% off, so it might be a little bit higher pricing, but at checkout, you should get the 55% off with this code. So the first payout needed, we already went over that, $1,250, $2,500, $5,000, and $7,500, the maximum first payout. So again, for this video, I am talking about, again, just getting that first payout. If you've never taken a payout before, right? So $1,250 will be that max payout we can take out, even though the maximum, again, is $1,500. And the same goes for the other accounts here as well. Now, the dollar gained per $1 spent, 6.98x here, okay? So for this amount that we've spent here, what is the dollar gained, okay? 6.98. Or if we're talking about return on investment, ROI in terms of percentages, is 698%. Then it goes to 9.29, 9.55, and then 9.75. So as you can see, the $150,000 account does have the highest dollar gained per each dollar spent. Basically, for the money that you're spending, you're getting the highest return back when it comes to percentages wise, okay? Now, even though the $150,000 account has the highest ratio, right? It has the hardest targets and the lowest payout percentage return compared to profit required, okay? We're actually going to talk about this on the next slide. Now, before we get into those other ratios, let's talk a little bit about the evaluation side as well for you guys that are thinking about the evaluations, right? So this will be the cost if we just take into consideration that you're passing these evaluations within the first 30 days, right? So you're not getting rebuilt. So your first month plus the activation fee, and the activation fee is going to be the same for all of these accounts, $149. This will be your total cost right here, okay? From 180 all the way to 283, depending which account size you have. First payout profit needed is the same. Maximum first payout is the same as well. Now, dollar gained per $1 spent is going to be 6.94 for the $25,000 accounts, 12.98 for the $50,000 accounts, and it actually goes lower at 12.58 and 12.34. So as you can see, a little bit different from the instant funded accounts. Here, the $50,000 account has the highest dollar gain per each dollar spent. Now, I also want to point out, if you're not 100% confident that you'll pass in your first month, instant funded accounts is the better option, okay? Because all of these prices will be much more expensive if it takes you more than a month to actually pass, okay? Now let's talk a little bit about payout efficiency. So we're comparing the targets versus the maximum withdrawal, okay? So with compound futures, you have 3 payout targets, 3 payout thresholds before you actually get moved to a live account. Now here are the total of that amount. So for a $25,000 account, the total needed is $3,000 for 3 payouts, right? Because it is with thresholds, right? First, you need to make 5%, and then 4%, and then 3%. So the total of all those payout targets is $3,000, $6,000, $12,000, and $18,000. Now, the total max you can withdraw, let's say you are taking the max after each, profit withdrawal target. It's going to be 3,000 for a $25,000 account, 7,500 here, 9,000, and then the highest will be $10,500, okay? Because max payout per payout request is going to be $3,500 times out by 3. There you have it, the $10,500 number right there. Now, if we're talking about the ratios, okay, so for the $25,000 account, it's a 1-to-1, right? So you need to hit the $3,000 for all the 3 payouts. You can also withdraw $3,000 in total. 1-to-1 for the $50,000 accounts as well, right? Even though $7,500 is the max we could withdraw, because the 6,000 is the total profits, right? We can't withdraw more than we've made, right? So it's a 1-to-1 there as well, similar to the $25,000 account. And then for the $100,000 account, it's 0.75, right? Total profits 12,000. We can withdraw 9,000, and then 0.58 for the $150,000 accounts, 18,000 in profits, but we can only withdraw 10,500, right? And then for you guys that are asking, like, what happens to the rest of the profits, they get moved to a live account if you get called up to the live account, right? If not, you can just continue trading after the 3 payouts as well. Now, if we're talking about the ratio winners, the $25,000 and the $50,000 accounts have the highest profit to withdrawal ratio. So there's more money withdrawn per dollar you need to make, okay, compared to the rest of the accounts. But if we're talking about dollar amount, the $150,000 account has the highest dollar amount of withdrawals after 3 payouts at $10,500, right? So there are best and best, right? So best in terms of dollar amounts and best when it comes to ratios as well. Again, as I said, guys, at the end, you're going to get the conclusion, which one I think is the best, just compared to these conclusions that we're getting on each one of these topics. But at the end of the day, it's you who decides, okay, are you focused more on the dollar amounts or just the probabilities and the statistics, right? Next, let's focus here on the net dollar gain after cost, okay? First, let's talk about the instant funded accounts. Now we're just talking, guys, about the first payout only, right? We only had that scenario there for the max payout. Now let's go back to the first payout only. So on the instant funded accounts, these are the costs. These are going to be the first payouts. And this is a net gain after that first payout. It's 1071, 2231, 2686, and then the highest is going to be 3141 for the $150,000 account, okay? Percentages wise, the $150,000 account is the highest as well at 874%, okay? So you are basically getting a return of 874% of your cost there net, right? So $150,000 account has the highest net gain and profit percentage at the same time. Now, if we talk about the valuations, a little bit different, okay? In terms of net gain, the $150,000 account still has the highest net gain in terms of dollar value, but profit percentage, It is the $50,000 account where it's almost a 1,300%, okay, increase there. The $100,000 account and the $150,000 account are not too far behind, but the $50,000 account has the highest profit percentage. Okay, I know there was a lot of numbers and I've spent hours just putting those numbers together and putting those ratios together and, trying to come up with, what could help you guys the most, try to understand all of this, right? As simple as possible. I know it's a lot of numbers, so that's why here's a summary table, like what's best for what. If we're talking about the lowest cost per dollar drawdown, it's going to be the $150,000 accounts. If there's no indication whether it's instant funded or elite challenge, it's either or, right? For both, it's the same. So if we're talking about, okay, where do I get my best bang for my buck, right? Where am I paying a certain amount and I'm getting the biggest drawdown? That's going to be the $150,000 accounts, okay? Now, the lowest drawdown versus the profit target ratio on the evaluations is going to be on the smaller accounts, 25K, 50K, right? If we're talking about the challenge side, what is going to be that lowest drawdown versus profit target where they are the closest together for the smaller account? If we're talking about once you get funded, now the lowest drawdown versus the first profit target, right? Talking about profit targets, any instant funded accounts are going to be the same, right? As we saw, they were the same, or the 25K elite challenge or the 50K elite challenge. If you pass one of those elite challenges, those funded accounts should be good as well. Easiest account to get a first payout, right? Is going to be the smaller accounts, the 25K or the 50K. Most cost effective on the instant funded size is going to be the $150,000 accounts, okay? Most cost effective on the evaluation side is going to be the 50K account. The highest total profit to max withdrawal ratio is going to be better on the 50K accounts, okay? The highest maximum withdrawal amount, if we're talking about dollar value here, not just the ratio, right? The ratio is better than the 50K, so we saw that. But if we're talking about dollar amount, it's going to be the $150,000 account. And then the highest dollar net gain after the first payout, again, 150K again. And then we're talking about profit percentages after the first payout, the 50K elite and the 150K instant funded accounts, okay? Now, those are the winners for each specific topic. If you are leaning more towards a specific topic, if you just, look at that winner and choose that account. But if you want to look at my recommendations, the best account for short-term gains, right, for quick profits is going to be the 50K elite evaluations, okay? If you, can confidently pass these challenges, okay? If not, I wouldn't think about those. But if you can pass the challenges, I would go with those. Now, for best long-term growth and scaling, it's going to be the 150K instant funded accounts, okay? Especially when we're talking about the live accounts. We didn't talk about the live accounts much in this video, but if we're talking about live accounts, with those accounts, you can move the most money from the sim environment to the live market as well. A lot of numbers. I know. Hopefully, I tried to explain them as simple as I could. What I would do, I would pause the videos on each specific topic, take a screenshot and print it out, okay? And just go through them one more time because I had to go through them a couple of times myself just to understand what was going on. But again, my recommendations would be those, either $50,000 elite challenge, pass that, go get funded, or a instant funded account on the 150K size, okay? Now, the 55% sale does continue until May 9th. If you just use TLKV at the checkout, you should get that discount. Again, if you did like this type of video, put in the comments below if you want me to do something similar for any other platform out there that has a lot of different accounts and you guys are still confused of what you should be choosing, okay? And as always, make sure you hit the like, share, and subscribe button. It does help this channel a lot.